Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this super cute custom dog bandana for my dog Lola. Well, okay, technically she's my fiance's dog, but like, she's my dog. So first things first, I'm going to let Lola pick out her fabric. I'm going to make you a bandana, but you got to pick your fabric, okay? I know, you would this one, or this one, or this one. Okay. To begin this project, you're going to need a pattern to cut out your fabric. I used an old Cricut mat to cut out the pattern shape for this project, and I found the dimensions online, which I can link below. You're also going to need something to cut your fabric with. Here I'm using Fisker's rotary cutter. You can use fabric scissors if that's what you have on hand. I bought my rotary cutter from Joann Fabrics, and like I said, you can use fabric scissors, but I just think the rotary cutter makes cutting out sewing patterns just a little bit easier than using fabric scissors. For this project, you're going to want to cut out 2 of the shape that I'm showing here. Next, I'm going to use my Cricut Easy Press Mini to iron out both of my fabric pieces to make them look a little bit nicer before sewing them together. I just like to iron out any wrinkles that may be in the fabric so that when I go to pin them together, they're nice and even. When you pin your project, you want to make sure that you are pinning the pretty or right sides of the fabric together like this. We are going to be sewing it inside out, but we'll change it back when the project is finished. So one other really important thing to remember is that you are not going to be sewing the sides where I'm pinning here together. The collar is going to slip through the bandana when your project is finished, so you cannot sew those sides together, otherwise it won't fit around your collar. Now it's time to take our project over to our sewing machine. So the first thing that I'm going to do is on the sides where we are not going to be sewing them together, I'm just going to do a basic hem to make sure that the sides of our bandana look a little more professionally finished. One thing I would just like to say is that I am not a professional seamstress, like literally not even close to one, so I may not do this perfect, but it'll work for a dog bandana. So you'll want to sew your hem on both sides of both pieces of fabric that you have, and then you'll also want to trim any loose threads that may be coming off of your project. Now it's time to sew your project together, and I'm going to speed up this process a little bit. So now what we're going to do is cut the point of our bandana with fabric scissors. I like doing this because when we flip our bandana right side out, it'll make the bandana look a little less bulky where the point is. And now carefully you want to turn your project right side out. This might take a while. Once you have your project right side out, you're going to take your iron or Cricut Easy Press Mini to flatten out some of the seams like I'm doing here. I really like using the Cricut Easy Press Mini for sewing projects because it's really little and it doesn't take a long time to heat up like a normal iron does. Now let's head over to the computer and I'll show you how to add your dog's name into Design Space. When Design Space opens, you're going to click on New Project right here on the left-hand side. And then you're going to click text, which is on the left menu here, and then you're going to scroll up to the right and click on this drop down menu. This is where you're going to be able to click on whatever font that you want to use for your project. There's lots of fonts to choose from and even more available through Cricut Access. So I recently bought this font from designbundles.net. So this is the font that I'm going to use today. I'm actually going to show you how to use two fonts in the same project. The two fonts that I'm going to use today are pretty similar, but they both have different dog-related accents. So the first one has this cute paw print accent, and then the second one has a dog bone accent, which I think is pretty appropriate for a dog bandana. Once we have both fonts typed out, I'm just going to resize them so it makes it a little bit easier to see. Then what we're going to do is we're going to ungroup both of the fonts. We're going to do this by selecting our font on the right and hitting ungroup, and then we're going to do the same thing with the font on the left. I'm doing this because I want some letters with paw prints and some letters with bones. So we're going to move the O and the L over to the font on the left, and then we're going to delete the other letters on the right. Now I'm going to quickly adjust the size of my letters to my personal preference. Once we have the name size the way that we want it, we are going to click attach, which basically just groups all of the letters back together in one continuous cut file. Then we need to size it for how we want it to look on the bandana. So I am going to make this 6 inches by about 3 inches in height. Lola is a little bit of a bigger dog. She weighs about 84 pounds, so her bandana is a bit bigger, but yours will depend on the size of your dog. Okay, so now we're going to hit make it. And the one thing that you want to remember when you're using heat transfer vinyl is that your text or image always has to be mirrored when you cut it out. So you just click the mirror button and then you hit continue. Today we're going to be using Cricut's foil iron-on for our dog bandana. So I'm going to go over to where it says browse all materials, and we're going to type in the word foil, and it should pop up in our search bar here. Once you click on that, you're good to go for your settings, and I'll show you how I cut out my material. Okay, so now it's time to prep our material before we put it onto our cutting mat. So I'm going to take this contoured handheld cutter from 651vinyl.com, and I'm going to cut out a rectangular shape of our iron-on. Our project dimension is 6 inches by 3 inches. So I'm going to cut it out 7 inches by 4 inches just to have a little bit of wiggle room with our cut. When you cut out iron-on or heat transfer vinyl, you want to make sure that you're putting the shiny side of your vinyl down. So if you see there, the silver chromish look is on one side and the other side is like more of a white opal look. So you want to make sure that the silver side is down for this because that's the actual color of our vinyl. Once we have everything ready to go on our mat, we're going to head over to our Cricut. Today I'm using my Explorer Air machine, and we're just going to load the mat up and press the load button. Once everything's loaded, you'll hit the go button, and then your Cricut machine will cut out your design. Once your design is done being cut by your Cricut, you're going to have to peel it off of your mat. Once you peel it off, you'll have to do what's called weeding out the negative vinyl from your design. This is a pretty simple process, and I really love using the pin pen weeding tool from 651vinyl.com to do this. This is one of my favorite crafting tools that I own. Now that we're finished weeding everything out of our design, it's time to go over to our heat press and apply our vinyl. We're going to press our design using the StarCraft heat press, which is also from 651vinyl.com. I know, this is not sponsored by 651vinyl.com, but you know, hey, maybe it should be. Troy, if you're listening, just have your people call my people. We're going to press this design for 30 seconds at 295 degrees, and then once we're done doing that, we're going to just flip it over and press it for another 15 seconds. Just a few quick tips while this is pressing. When people say iron on vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, it's the same exact thing. People just refer to it with those two different names. And also, you really want to make sure that you are adhering to the time and temperature guidelines that come with your vinyl. You might have to look it up. I actually had to look up the time and temperature settings for this Cricut iron-on. It wasn't on the packaging that came with it, but Cricut and 651vinyl.com both have pretty extensive time and temperature charts on their websites. For this Cricut foil iron-on, you have to wait until your design is cooled down from your heat press before you can peel off the carrier sheet. Once you pull the carrier sheet off, you are finished. And all you'll have to do to attach this to your dog's collar is pretty simple. You just slip the collar right through the top of the bandana. There's no tying or anything like that involved. Alright, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this dog bandana tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.